All right, Boyle joins me late on Sunday, but still wanted to do it. Thanks for joining me. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Someone in the chat that's already watching live said, I always appreciate Bill's insights on this insane fucking war of choice. As an aside, most of the guys I served with back from 04 to 08 fucking hate this. And that's a good place to start because, as you know, I'm in touch with a lot of veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. You are as well. I don't know any of them that think this is a good idea. And it's just a really interesting kind of cohort to be asking because they served not long ago in Iraq, and we know how that went very, very badly for us. Your thoughts on
friends to Iranian IEDs, and they still think it's a fucking terrible idea to fight with Iran.
Guys who were injured as a result of Iranian supported, built, whatever IEDs, and they still think it's a bad idea. They don't want revenge.
Well, no, I mean, they know what's going to happen. They understand the stakes. They understand how many innocent people are going to get hurt. They understand how pointless ultimately all of this is, given that we're unlikely to be able to militarily defeat Iran in the way that people think we might or want to, or the way the White House is talking about it. Trump's talking about unconditional surrender. That's never happening here. It's never happening here. You're fighting a war with totally undefined, stupid goals. The goals they have are stupid. The strategic outcomes they want are undefined or redefined every other day. There's nothing worse. Like, wars are serious business, and really bad things typically happen no matter whether you win or not. And to go into a war like this, just kind of on a winging it, fuck it, let's go, is just unbelievably bad. And if you lost friends to in a war, like, you know what it means. And it's freaking awful. So
it's a really, really bad situation. And sadly, it was a war of choice and completely predictable. There's so much about life that's unpredictable, and obviously about foreign policy, geopolitics, and war that's completely uncertain. And yet we could have 100% predicted, or very close to it, that there was going to be an issue with transporting oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Anytime anybody has ever talked about invading Iran, that's one of the most important pieces of leverage Iran has, the region has. And tonight, as we speak, stock trading futures, when markets have opened in addition in other parts of the world, obviously, it was up to $114 a barrel at one point. It's lingering about 110. We're talking on Sunday night. Who knows what could happen? People are already seeing that affect gas prices. I mean, talk about predictability. That certainly was one. Yeah, tell me more.
Of course. I mean, more than half of the world's crude oil goes to the Straits of Hormuz. Also, a lot of the refining capacity for the crude oil that goes through, I mean, all of it comes from there too. Like, this isn't just the Straits of Malacca. It's not just a choke point. It's also with all of these refineries in northern Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, etc., are within easy range of an Iranian Shahed. So you're not just shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, you're potentially damaging equipment. And by the way, you're forcing the equipment to be turned off. Kuwait has already done their force majeure statement. Bahrain, other countries are doing that. And what I mean by that, the oil contracts have a force majeure provision. Force majeure meaning something's happened, it's out of our control, and we can turn off our oil production until that exogenous event ends. Force majeure in this case is the Americans were fucking crazy enough to do this. Things are being bombed, our refineries are being hit, tankers can't go in and out, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're invoking force majeure that we can't deliver the oil contracts that we've signed with people. That means they shut down these refineries. They shut down the processes. And for those of you who paid attention when I went on an endless, mind-numbingly boring detail about the Russian oil industry a couple of years ago with you, when you shut these refineries down, it's not like you flip a switch and they turn off. Like, it's this whole incredibly difficult process to turn them off. Then it's another process to turn them back on again. And in turning these refineries off, they don't just sit in a solid state; they start to deteriorate. And so it's quite possible that it takes you a week or two to turn these refineries off. Something goes wrong, it might be a year before you get it back up and running again, because you have to go and get parts and figure out what went wrong. These are gigantic logistical machines that have tons of equipment that's multiple failure points. And that's not even saying that, the odd Shahed lands and blows up on part of it. So it's not just there's a switch that turned off the Strait of Hormuz and cut off the world from half of its oil. It's that the production equipment's going to get affected for an undefined and maybe long period of time. There's really, this is close to Iran. This is not stuff that we can move. There's no way to, change the core strategic dynamic here. So we're in a situation where, Iran can fuck with the world's oil supply for a really long time, and it doesn't take a lot. I talked to a friend of mine who say that we can defend the oil fields, right? Well, then the Iranians can switch and say, okay, we're just going to go for the tankers. And a friend of mine is a shipping insurer. He runs a large shipping insurance company that does tankers. And he said, I'm telling you right now, for shipping insurance, the safety of the crew is paramount. That is number one. And in this case, there's no way to guarantee the safety of these crews, even if the U.S. military is going up and down the Strait of Hormuz. So he's like, this makes it uninsurable. There's a state of war, whether the U.S. admits it or not, and it makes getting these tankers through, they're uninsurable. And guess what you're going to do? You got to, whatever, I don't even know how much tankers cost. $200 million, say? Well, let's say it's $75 million. Are you going to push that tanker through there if you can't insure it? Of course you're not.
Right.
So this is going to be shut off for the foreseeable future. We're at 114, 111. Right now, I was at a kid's birthday party with my son, coming home, glancing at my phone, and it was text messages and Twitter and Blue Sky, people going like, holy fuck, the markets have really...
The markets are going to be slapola tomorrow.
And they've already, the South Korean market has already had a automatic shutdown because it had so much negative volume. This is not, and again, this isn't just us. A lot of China's oil comes from there. A lot of Japan's oil comes from there. These are the places that build the products that we buy, right? This is the lubricant for the world's economy.
There's so much that we can talk about as it just around the metric, the detail around what this war of choice is now going to do to the cost of the price of barrel of oil and all the ripple effect that has all over the world, and how it makes
34% oil gasoline prices in the U.S. as of Friday had already gone up 34%. So
the two largest single day price increases in history happened this week.
Yeah.
There's so much more to talk about just in terms of the energy cost and what that means. But I also, can't help but think about the overall cost of this war in dollars for Americans. I posted this earlier.
Right on.
What did you say? $1 billion a day?
$1 billion a day at least.
So
when someone says it's $1 billion a day, that's their narrow accounting of it.
The initial 100 hours of operations apparently cost roughly $3.7 billion. It's cost an estimated $890 million to over $1 billion per day, according to CNN. We bombed a school and killed 170 little girls. 7 Americans have died. At least 10 Israelis have died. There's a war in southern Lebanon.
Yep.
And I think the most important part of this to me, or the most dramatic part, who was it? I heard Emma Vigeland say this on Sam Cedars' Majority Report. We're so insulated from the violence that we're inflicting on the rest of the world. And my just addition to that is, for now, like, it won't last. I mean, he's a madman and he has to be stopped. Are you there, Bill?
I am there. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your camera went off.
Yeah, my camera's doing weird things, but I can still hear you, so I'll just keep going.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean, the economic costs are going to permeate everything. But I mean, think about what we're heading into. We're heading into the summer, which is when Americans drive the most. So let's just take that one slice. Like, say gasoline prices go up another 20%. So everybody's paying $5 a gallon for gas. That $5 per gallon will mean people travel less. There'll be less tourism. People will be shopping less for things. They won't go on vacations they would have normally gone on, right? Like, it's just going to be more and more of this. And by the way, Pete, is this okay to do, or do you want me to come back and go back on and off? Or
what do you mean? Because your camera's off?
Yeah, my computer's doing something weird, so it's turned off my display, including my camera. But I can like come off and come back on again real quick if you want to do that.
Yeah. Also, the link that I sent you, you can just go through your phone and use your phone.
Hold on. Okay, we'll do that. But I'll keep talking while I go. So, and then I'll turn the computer off as soon as I get through.
Yeah, if you can do that, that's multitasking. Cool. I'll be impressed.
So it's going to affect like everything all the way down to how many hot dogs are sold on the Coney Island, boardwalk this summer. It's going to affect, what people buy for their kid for school in the fall, right? Like, it's going to be a thorough, energy permeates everything, right? So, it's gonna be in everything, and it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be awful. And I think that by the way, we can talk.
Try again.
Give me 1 sec. Okay, how's that?
Oh, that's great.
Perfect. Okay, let me try to make this bigger so I can see it. So it's going. What's that?
The energy secretary's name is Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy. He's obviously shit. He was on with Jay Tapper today, and he said this is only going to be a few weeks of high gas. And of course, Trump himself said, if the price of gas goes up, it goes up. That's one quote of his.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, by the way, like, I was going to go into the deets on sort of the military operation and what they're planning to do. And we should probably touch upon that because it's going to matter quite a bit for later on. But I mean, what these guys are, they're acting as if there's no politics that apply here at all. Right? They're like, oil prices, gas prices are going up. Whatever, man. That's what Americans expect to happen in a war.
Right.
They're like, and like, think about, I was going back and forth with Tom Nichols and Jamel Bowie and some other people today about this. They already have an utterly outraged population about immigration. People are already super pissed off about inflation. People already are unhappy about the long-running and never going away Epstein saga, right? And they decided in their hubris and insanity, you know what? We really need a land war in Asia. That'll sort shit out. So people are going to go into the fall with high gas prices on top of all of that, everything more expensive. It's just none of this is ever going to get better while these guys are in the White House. And it's really kind of insane.
Can I just say one thing about that? And stop moving your phone. It's making
sorry, brother. I'm just doing this so that I have a battery and everything else. There you go.
Okay, now that horrible sound of movement should end. But no, you look and sound great now. So who in the administration, much less in the U.S. Senate or House, wanted to do this right now? Who is pressuring Trump? Let's go now. I think I haven't seen any reporting that Hegseth or Rubio or anyone else was pushing for this. The only person I've seen that was pushing for this is Bibi.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think basically what happened is that this has been in Trump's ear. I think this is actually driven almost entirely by Trump, because Trump has Putin's. I'm a world beating guy who's going to change everything and be known for history as this great conqueror. That's what's going on in Trump's head, and this is an expression of his narcissism, his grandiosity, and his his basic authoritarian needs, right? That's what this is. And it resembles to a great degree, when fascist Italy was starting to get stale and it wasn't working out very well. Mussolini, his move was to invade Ethiopia. And that was a way to re-energize the fascist revolution in Italy. And I think that is basically what happened here. I think this is mostly about Trump. Bibi has been, by the way, trying to get this to happen with every American president for 40 years. So this is not what Bibi's doing is not new at all. The only difference for Israel is their capability is much better than it was. And they found an American president crazy enough to fucking go along with it. To Bibi's not a new thing. That's been there. That's been happening. But what you have is this is about Trump. This is all about Trump and his insanity, his sort of I want to be, I want them to put my face in, etched on the moon so you see it, once a month and in full, right? I mean, it's just absolutely insane, grandiose. I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for. Stalin and Hitler level nuttiness is what we're looking at. Because there's no strategic thinking behind this at all.
Right.
There's no
say it's way worse than Stalin and Hitler because they had ambitions to take more land and be imperialistic, but it was also very strategic. And we know, I guess there's similarities in that they had early successes and then went for more. And obviously we know how it ended. But this is mostly just a fucking madman who's not nearly as smart as Hitler or Stalin, but definitely as evil. I'm gonna go ahead and decide. By the way, just real quick, when they met the American flag draped coffins being returned, and Trump didn't take his hat off or bow his head.
Yeah, that surprises you or no?
Suckers and losers.
Yeah, no, of course. He's thinking, why the fuck do I have to be here on a Sunday afternoon, right, or a Saturday afternoon? That's who he is. I mean, this is about Trump, and I think anyone who tries to get more complicated than that is doing everyone a disfavor, a disservice. This is about Trump and Trump trying to inscribe his name on history. And by the way, remember, like one of the only times that he sounded like he really was being honest talking about this, he was like, "It's going to be just like Venezuela, and we're gonna get the oil, and we're gonna have somebody in there control things." Like Trump thinks he's setting up like franchises of the Trump organization in other countries. That's what he thought he set up in Venezuela, and is pissed off now that imagine the Chavista number 2 is bucking at the reins, right? But that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to set up like further franchises, and it's completely nuts. And I honestly don't think we need to even talk about it that much. I think that's just obviously what it is. And I don't think there's much analysis. How do you analyze a freaking maniac, right? Like there's not much to go on there other than someone's weird and insane narcissism.
How about this question from the chat? And I was going to ask you this, someone in the chat asking about Russia and its interest. How does this impact them? And I saw just a headline earlier that Russia and China are going to help Iran, if not already.
So Russia, people are talking that 3 THAAD batteries, I think Patriot batteries, in the Persian Gulf got hit and destroyed by the Iranians. That's a lot. And these are highly protected things. And I think it's pretty clear that the Russians probably gave that targeting information to the Iranians to hit those. And I think that it's obvious the Russians are giving them targeting information, which Trump, by the way, doesn't want anyone talking about. And that's all well and good, right? Like that sucks for us. But Russia is losing again and unable to defend again another big ally that they imagined was, an arm of Russia Inc. overseas. Venezuela just getting totally slapped down. Iran is just getting pounded. The U.S. Trump's talking about Cuba, right? Like we're running, or Syria is another one. Like Russia is running out of overseas imperial posts and can't do anything about it. So obviously in Russia, that ain't fucking popular for the kind of people who support Putin. On the other side of it, it's going to raise oil prices. And so whatever oil Russia can manage to get out is going to be worth a lot more money. And so it certainly helps them financially to a degree.
The Treasury Secretary today said something like they might lift sanctions on Russian oil, and I assume I again just saw a headline. I was skiing all day with my daughters, but I assume it's as a way to balance the market out.
That's right, and but it also tells you how little they give a shit about Ukraine, right?
Right.
Like they obviously don't care at all.
Well, spending $1 billion a day on this war also shows how much they give a little shit about Ukraine. Like we can spend $1 billion a day on that war and bled Russia dry.
That's right, and there's another layer to this too, that the West is now having to ask Ukraine for help. The Ukrainians are sending people to the Middle East as we speak to help the Gulf state, not the West so much, but the Gulf oil states are asking the Ukrainians to send them, anti-drone equipment and operators to help them defend the oil fields. That's a big fucking boon for the Ukrainians, because these Gulf states can give Ukraine a lot of money, a lot of access to banking, and they have arms sitting around they're probably never going to use. Like there's so I would say overall it's a mixed thing for Russia. I think it's mixed. It's not great. It's not terrible. I do think Russia is steadily losing at this point. And we'll just have to see how that plays out.
The least important, but arguably most interesting or impactful issue is how it affects domestic politics. So far, I'm not sure. I mean, I heard Trump say basically today, this is the most MAGA thing in the world, this Iran war. Obviously, it's not. He campaigned against war. What are your thoughts on domestic politics so far?
Well, we
lost Boyle again. Rough on the audio technical side tonight. See if we can get him. We'll see if we can get him back. My people are working really hard right now in the background to get Bill situated. I think he's back.
Pete, I am back. That was super weird. It just popped me out. So you asked me its effect on domestic politics, right?
Yep.
So if you look back at what these guys were talking about doing, right? Or what they're talking about doing now, they're talking about seizing Karga Island, which is this crucial island that sits right off of Iran. And the idea is that they will hold this island and they'll put ground troops in and hold this island. And that will be our way to control Iran's oil industry and therefore control Iran. Except that, of course, that island is like a couple miles off the Iranian coast, and the Iranians can just literally launch Shahed after Shahed after Shahed at American troops there. That's their one option, that we commit ground troops and we try to hold strategic places in order to defeat the Iranian government and force them to sue or whatever. Their other option is to pull out. Insane. Because it will be Taco Trump on steroids. And it'll be yet again, you jumped into this war and did something stupid, and now you have to back down.
And pulling out is a very simple thing. We're saying in news broke tonight that there's a new supreme leader. If they ended war now, if they pull out now, all they would have done, the takeaway could be you killed 175 little girls and the supreme leader, and you replaced the supreme leader with his son, who's arguably worse. Which
that's right. You pummeled the country,
seen coming,
and you fucked up the world economy, and you caused Americans to pay more for gas. And it's again the sort of weird, pointless, totally fucked up things that Trump does. This is yet another version of that, right? So I don't think. And here's the third option, right? The third option would be Trump somehow magically pulls a rabbit out of his hat, and the Iranians give in and become a shining democracy that gives us 10% of all their oil revenue. How likely do we think the third option is? Not fucking likely, right?
I just can't possibly see how that would happen with the current regime still in charge, and no reason to think they won't be.
That's right. And so I think politically, what this all means for the United States is that the very highest likelihood is that this is a fucking debacle that has economic effects and military effects that go all the way through November. And I think that it really pins down Trump's popularity where it is now or lower. I think that it freezes a lot of debate, right? Where Trump, the Republicans want to make a discussion about, oh, Democrats are for trans kids. And for your Democrat, you can be like, okay, whatever, this trans bullshit. But, the president just got 200 Marines killed on Carg Island. For what? Right? You're paying $5 a gallon for gas. Do you really want to talk about trans kids when you're paying that much for
Oh,
gas?
well, your boy Graham Plattner has the new talking point on that, by the way.
What's his talking point? I didn't see it yet.
He had an amazing answer to somebody. Some interviewer asked him about it, and he basically said, this is such a dumb question, and the only reason it's being asked is because some billionaire funds a campaign to get people like you to ask that question, to insert that question in the conversation, when the rest of us care about the cost of healthcare, the cost of gas.
Right.
And he just keeps naming off things like 2 trans kids that might play sports. That's because some out-of-state billionaire is funding a campaign to create a culture war issue that does not exist. There's 2 kids. It was a really good answer, and I'll play it. I played it if you're listening on the podcast later on, not live, but it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I have my problems with that guy, pretty significant ones, but that's absolutely the right way to say it.
Somebody in the live chat looks to be supportive of this. We got like 110 people watching on online right now, Bill, supportive of the Iran war and something about, the obliterating their nuclear capabilities. Talk a little bit about that. I think you or someone else shared this congressman Democratic Congressman Foster, who basically, I never even heard of him, but he's like, listen, if we don't get the material that they already have and secure that, they can make rudimentary bombs and detonate them anywhere they want. I'm paraphrasing, but this whole war, this whole invasion, this whole whatever you want to call it, taking place without knowing where that material is and securing it ahead of time is probably the most dangerous and irresponsible part about it. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I would say that if someone thinks the Iranians were about to create nuclear weapons, they are ignorant of actual facts. Iran has 970 some odd pounds of highly enriched uranium. When people hear that, they go, ooh, that's highly enriched. That's dangerous. It's only enriched to 60%. You need to get to 90%, which is a laborious, difficult problem to make an actual bomb. There is no independent evidence by anybody that the Iranians were putting together the components to actually build a bomb. I think they were getting within sprinting distance of a couple of years, maybe. But their program got pounded extremely hard the last time around we did this, whenever that was last year. And the Iranians have never, it's literally, there's fatwas by Khomeini and Khatami that say nuclear weapons are haram. They're completely not okay to use. And the Iranians always, they did this thing where they had a program that, to someone who sees it with clear eyes and doesn't think Iran is full of demons. And by the way, to be clear, I hate the Iranian government. They suck. They're awful. But they have always been rational. And every person who did not have an ideological axe to grind, who looked at that program and said, this is a bargaining stick. The program existed to make the West pause before it pounded on Iran. And it existed to give it leverage. But they never went for it hardcore to have a bomb ever. And by the way, they inherited this program from the Shah. This was not even a program that the Iranian government, that the mullahs created themselves. This was the thing they inherited. A program, by the way, that we helped start, right? So this idea that the Iranians were like 2 days away from a bomb, and without this bomb program, we were going to die. I mean, the Iranians right now, are they hitting schoolyards around the Middle East right now, like we are?
They hit no, but not to change subjects, I don't know what you're driving at, but they did hit a desalination point plant.
Because one of theirs got hit.
One of theirs got hit, and they hit one. And what was it?
They hit one back. That is a perfect illustration of what we're talking about. The Iranians are all about sort of matching and deterrent. Again, they're a shit government. They're a shitty government, but that doesn't mean they're irrational. and you don't have to like them to read their behavior and come up with a rational, your own rational interpretation of it. The idea that this uranium is around, by the way, these cylinders are 30 kilograms a piece. The stuff is clunky. It's hard to grab. It's hard to move. That being said, we really don't know where it all is because we've been bombing the crap out of it. It's much more likely that the 60% enriched uranium will get scattered, which is idiotic. And there's the nuclear program was always a canard, always a canard. The Iranians were using it as a bargaining chip. They agreed to tone it down with JCPOA and to back off of a lot of it. That would have worked, and it was working quite well, and Trump ripped it up. So we are here without any sort of working program to manage the Iranian nuclear program because Trump decided to destroy the JCPOA agreement that was working because he didn't like that a black guy had been in the White House before him. That's just the reality of it.
We're also here, a lot of people are saying, as a result of this being a distraction from huge controversial scandals coming out around the Epstein files and Donald Trump.
I don't buy that only because I don't even think Donald Trump is that stupid. I don't think that he thinks Epstein's going to go away because of this, but I do think it's a classic example of how an authoritarian figure thinks. Like, I'm going to show everybody how strong I am by going and kicking the shit out of Iran. And that will probably help me with the people, the silent majority that's out there. But do I really think he thinks Epstein's going away? No, I don't buy that.
You know what I haven't seen is international reaction to America and Israel doing this.
Oh, I think that, so the European governments do not like the Iranians. The Iranians have done terrorist acts in Europe. They've done stupid and fucked up things around the world. No one's going to cry over that government falling.
But it's not falling, right? Like a worse.
But it's not going to. That's my point. So the Europeans are going to kind of sit back and let this all go by. But they're not going to help us any more than they have to, and they're not going to cry over spilt Iranian mullahs, right? But they're also not ecstatic this is happening under his stretch.
What about the Arab states, the Gulf states, like Dubai and Saudi Arabia, who are trying to join the world and be specifically tourist attractions, and now they are part of a people are trying to get out of those countries and can't even get out of those countries. No one's going in to spend their money.
Well, here's the thing. This is a great example of how finance bros could really use some training in geography, right? Like, you live in the Burj Al Arab, right across from Iran, in one of the most volatile geopolitical spots in the world. And you're like, I don't want to pay taxes in Britain. This is awesome. I'll just stay here. And of course, in the world, there is no free lunch, ultimately. You want to go to the tax haven right across from, a heavily armed and, country that's on a collision course with the United States, then things aren't going to work out really well for you and your golden lifestyle. And these places, they are built on that illusion of safety. And that illusion, I think, is being punctured quite dramatically. And by the way, it's being punctured quite dramatically where Iran is showing a certain amount of restraint towards them, which I think really should, if I were there, I'd be finding some other tax haven to live in, frankly.
Did you share Rothkopf's piece?
No, Rothkopf shared my thing.
Oh, what?
Well, kind of both ways. I quote shared it, I guess, because I put a quote on it from a guy named Gramsci, an Italian. And the quote is, when the old order is dead and the new order is struggling to become, there they are the monsters.
Yeah.
Or words to that effect.
That was one.
Rothkopf then retweeted that.
Wow, that's great. I wasn't necessarily referring to that, but he had written a piece, something about, I haven't read it, about how bad this is and how much Can you speak to that piece at all? I'm going to try to talk to him this week, but did you?
I didn't. To be honest with you, skimmed it very quickly and did not get into it. But I basically Rothkopf is saying pretty much the same thing that I'm saying.
That we've been talking about.
It's a strategic nullity. It's a gigantic mistake. It's going to lead to all kinds of problems, and I think ultimately it kills Trump. It's one of the things that destroys Trump is, people don't like this shit. This war has the lowest approval rating of any war in our lifetime.
You make of
age in the war.
That wasn't sold, and we weren't attacked like 9/11.
Right, but if you're going to fight a war, things only get worse over time. Public opinion only goes downhill, and if they put the first Marines to Karg Island, and these guys are getting pasted to Shaheeds all day, and we lose. Hope to God we don't, but we lose 300 guys. Where do you think opinion's going to be about that war then? Right? Like it's going to be 20% overnight, and that'll be it. It'll be only the MAGA dead enders that are into it. So yeah, it's a pretty freaking bad place to start a war, and we have a bad economy, and we have political unrest in the country. We have inflation. We have the Epstein files. Everything else. This is just a recipe to destroy an administration. There
is some guy in the live chat that is disagreeing with a lot, but he doesn't sound like an insane loser. But he said it's not a war; it's a strategic engagement. Let's just be clear.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!
Seth called it a war. Donald Trump called it a war.
My favorite, that gigantic intellect from Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen.
Yeah.
Came out and said it's not a war, and the reporter was like, "You just called it a war like 3 sentences ago."
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh yeah." Okay.
Reporter's name is Lisa Day, and she works at NPR.
Yeah, if people want to quibble over the, whether maybe it's like how could I say this? If we're not shooting people in the Champagne region of France, then it's only a bubbling conflict, maybe. Right? Like, give me a fucking break. Like, we're bombing the shit out of a country. We're shooting their people. We're using submarines to sink their unarmed
the guy is the worst. He's so triggering. He goes, semantics. Oh yeah, tell that to the 100.
I think semantics is exactly what saying it's not actually a war is. The definition of semantics is exactly that sort of pettifogging bullshit.
You shared this, and I want to see if I can be tech savvy enough to share this. Yeah. Okay.
In the 2000s.
Here it is.
The administration is reportedly weighing Congress to approve an additional $50 billion in funding for these operations. You have said you're a hell no, not just a no, on funding the war. We have seen this movie before. We know that vote will be cast as, especially if you run for higher office, you voting against the troops.
Oh, come on. I mean, the American people don't want this war. They don't want this war. They have seen what happens when American troops go into places like Iraq, places like Afghanistan. Ultimately, we get a lot of people killed. We waste a lot of dollars. The one thing the American people are clear about is that they do not want the United States dragged into another long-term war in the Middle East. If you support the troops, you should be voting against funding this war so that we get our troops out of harm's way. About is that they do not want.
All right. So, Bill, what do you say about that? Because we've seen that show before. If you don't support this war, you don't support the troops. You're not a patriot.
I think the only thing wrong with Chris Murphy's answer was that he did not say "go fuck yourself," Jake, at the beginning of it. and the reason I say that is that Tapper and a lot of these guys at CNN made their careers on the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And so these guys just they can't even tell the difference between public interest and their own media interest at all. The idea that, like, if you don't give this money to a war that Congress hasn't approved, are Americans going to blame you? Like, it is so fucking stupid. And I like to try to give sort of like a nuanced, read on things. I'm sorry, there's nothing nuanced about that. That is just a media guy who made his career and made a lot of his money covering wars, and he kind of thinks it would suck if the war didn't continue because it would hurt his career.
You just burgeoned
And that's it.
You just brandished your image here on the show with your answer to the only thing wrong with Chris Murphy's response is that he didn't say fuck off, Jake. Fuck you, Jake. Listen, Bill, love talking to you. Hate to give you compliments because I don't want to blow up your ego. That's what people say to me all the time. But I love talking to you. I stayed up late to talk to you. I love your perspective. I appreciate it. If people are watching, listening, Bill B in DC on the Blue Sky, he doesn't have the ambition to be a media magnet like me. That's just why we like him. He's just here to share his point of view based on all of the information that he takes in and his smart historical references, etc. I will take you any way we can get you, even with the technical issues. Thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure, Pete. Thank you. And yeah, folks, I don't make $1 from this. So I don't know. Follow me at Bill B in DC on Blue Sky, and you can hear these snarky off-color remarks for free.
And if you're in DC, look them up. You might get lucky.
That's a negative. Yeah. No. I'm a married man, Pete. No one's getting lucky with me.
I meant you might get lucky and like you guys would have a drink or something.
Oh, I thought you meant in the
I didn't mean you're gonna fuck Bill.
That would have been weird. Yeah, that would have been weird. But
super weird. Yeah, that would ruin your life if you ended up having sex with somebody who was just hanging out with us on YouTube tonight. You're happily married man.
Super creepy.
I will, Bill. I appreciate it. Really great stuff as always. I will say this to the 117 people listening. One lucky or watching right now live on YouTube. One lucky viewer I will have sex with them.
Is lucky how you describe it for them?
I would. I can't wait till we figure out who it's going to be, and then we'll decide if they got lucky. If I got lucky, with my luck, it'll be someone who's heaven.
Pete, I was about to eat a late dinner. Maybe I can go before this creepy process happens, so I don't feel sick in my stomach.
10:45 at night. How then? You're going to lie down? And
I'm a good dad, Pete. I was doing Finn stuff, so I'm going to go and finally get my meal. So
go eat, buddy. Thank you very much for joining me.
Be well, everybody. Be safe. Vote early and vote often.
There goes a Bill Boyle. I drank whiskey while we were talking because it's late on Sunday night. I got to go to bed. So now I just want to hang out with everybody here. Live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us tonight. To the 115 people that are still here. Such a crazy timeline that we're living in. People always say timeline. It's a time that we're living in. It's hard to believe that the things that are happening that they're happening. And we felt that way about COVID, and we're like, wait, there's a pandemic and the reality show guy is the president. What multiverse did we get fucked to be in? But I do find that I stay joyful a lot of times, a lot of days, even in spite of the horror and what it brings, although we haven't seen a direct cost necessarily in many ways, not only of the war, but of this regime. I guess we've seen a direct cost. We've definitely seen a direct cost simply in that we don't recognize our loved ones and our neighbors and people that we thought we admired, respected, and appreciated in our lives, because we're like, what? You believe that nonsense? You buy that shit? You support that? So we've all been affected that way. But until there's a cost for the pain that our country is delivering, I mean, the check is going to come due, I fear. I always worried that we're on borrowed time. I felt that way post 9/11, living in New York and being there. And yet, in many ways, I feel like or maybe it's just my point of view, my perspective, skated. Things got better. Barack Obama. What am I doing? It's late. It's YouTube. I'm going to go to bed. But it just feels weird that we're here. So I'm glad that you're here with me. I appreciate whoever's watching this and supporting my work, which is really not only interviewing experts and smart people and putting together a daily show, but connecting ordinary folks every day. So if you want to connect with other people who live here on Earth One, patreon.com/Pete Dominick. This is a place to go. And you can hang out with us. You can meet us. We'll be together in person in Vegas in April 9th through 12th. Podjam Trey, the third installment of our in-person gathering in Las Vegas, April 9th. Patreon.com/Pete Dominick. Good night, everybody. Happy Sunday evening. Hi, Terry. Hi, Joe. Hey, Bobo. Joey. Will Powers. Arn Arneson. Thanks, guys, for watching. Appreciate you. Good night.